All right. Well, we'd like to welcome you to this cyber event, the Cyber Symposium. And I'd like to say that we are all excited on our side of things. This is kind of a new technology for us. And I want to welcome everybody into the cyber room. Apparently in French or in Greek, Tom Boudreau tells me that Cyber Symposium, or the symposium part, means something to do with a break for wine. So this is the time you could speak to that maybe at some point. But anyways, we have a renowned singer from Alaska who's going to open our conference here. And so we'd like to welcome Dave Wilcoxon to come up and sing the Alaska flag song, and then welcome everybody into our room. Thank you.
Just a caution on the muting too. Okay. Folks, we just want to make sure that if you're not speaking during the conference, if you could just mute your mic, and that way it's a voice-activated system. So if somebody's talking and you cough or you talk, there's going to be a problem there. So if you're not speaking, go ahead and mute your mic, and then when you want to have an opportunity to speak, go ahead and speak, and we'll zoom in on you. Okay?
Thanks.
Thanks very much. And we welcome Dave Wilcoxon.
Eight stars of gold on a field of blue, Alaska's flag may it mean to you. The blue of the sea, the evening sky, the mountain lakes and the flowers nearby, the gold of the early sourdough's dreams, the precious gold of the hills and streams, the brilliant stars in the northern sky, the Bear, the Dipper, and shining high, the great North Star with its steady light, o'er land and sea, a beacon bright. Alaska's flag to Alaskans dear, the simple flag of a last frontier.
Thank you, Dave, very much.
So I thought what we could do now is simply go around to each university site and introduce the university, and the coordinator, the moderator, would simply introduce themselves and the university. When people speak individually, then we'd ask people to introduce themselves with a discussion or a question, that they would do that individually. So can we start then with Simon Fraser University?
Can you make sure your microphone
Brenda,
is...
we can't hear right now. Yeah, I can't.
All right, new technology. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Because we're just...
When we can
No?
hear, oh.
Right there.
I did it. I turned that
That
off.
should be hot.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear you in Hawaii.
Okay, great. Thanks. Hi, it's Simon Fraser University here. Brenda Morrison, co-chair of the Center for Restorative Justice, and 10 wonderful graduate students. Thanks for organizing us. Thanks.
Thank you. And to Puerto Rico. Can we go then to Puerto Rico?
Aha, buenas. You see me? You hear me?
Hey.
Yes. Hello there, Brian. This is David Wexler from the University of Puerto Rico. Here with a bunch of law students at the University of Puerto Rico. We're taking...
Cannot dial.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We're okay. What happened? They lost their connection.
Oh, no.
Okay, we temporarily lost the connection to Puerto Rico. We're trying to get it back on board, and let's just wait for a moment, see if we can get Puerto Rico back up.
phone link dropped. Cecilia called me.
Hey Brian, this is Kelly at video conferencing. You guys having a problem?
We still don't have Puerto Rico back up.
Yeah, I think they need to dial into us. I'll try to give them a phone call, but if you want to keep going, I can work on that while you guys start your presentation and stuff.
Okay, let's go to, we'll go to another university, and then we'll just do a very quick recap for Puerto Rico when they come back online, right? Okay. So why don't we go to Hawaii,
Aloha. This is Ann Smoke. I'm with the Matsunaga Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution at the University of Hawaii, and we're here with a small group, but a dedicated group, and we've got a few more coming in. And thank you, Brian, for including us and for coordinating this whole conference. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Brian,
Okay.
did you hear us?
Yes, David. Good to hear you, David.
Hi, can
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go over to Whitehorse, to the Yukon College.
Say hi, wave.
Hello?
Here we are. It's Joanna Lewis, Northern Institute
I'm
of
sorry,
Social
you're
Justice.
breaking up. This is Lynn Mallory. I'm supposed to be part of
Oh,
the
hang on, we've got somebody else on.
going on now. I can't hear anything. I'm calling for children.
Talk about getting your personal phone call right on the line there.
Thank you.
You want to press the mute again, Joanna? No, one more time. Get your point out.
Maybe Lynn doesn't know.
Yeah. Just a reminder, folks, that if you're not speaking, you need to keep your mute on, because if you start talking, you're going to override somebody. So we're still with
So
Whitehorse.
Lynn, we got your phone call there,
Yeah.
even though it wrote over the top.
Hello?
Okay, let's go with Whitehorse, yeah. Hello.
Hello. Joanne Lewis, Northern Institute of Social Justice, and we've got Mark Stevens with us from
Yukon College Carcross campus.
and Val Binder.
From YTG
Hi,
Youth
this is
Justice
Lynn Mallory.
Restorative
I'm calling
Community
for
Conferencing.
Very good.
Trying to be part of the
Very good. I know she doesn't. All right, we have Puerto Rico back in the room, it seems like. We have Puerto Rico back in the room. That's very good. Lynn, when you're, Lynn, just this is a little word to Lynn Malley. Lynn, when you're not speaking, can you keep your mute button on somehow? The mute button, because it comes through over the top of the people speaking, just to let you know. And here we are to Puerto Rico. Maybe we'll ask Dave Wexler to introduce himself and the group he has there.
Okay, before I was so rudely interrupted, I was saying hi to you, Brian, and we're really happy to be here. I've got 2 therapeutic jurisprudence classes from the School of Law at the University of Puerto Rico with us, and it's real warm and sunny here, and we're happy to be here.
That's very good. And we also have Salisbury University from Maryland. Would you like to introduce, Tom, would you introduce folks there in the university?
Yes. Hi, Brian, and thank you for putting on this conference. It's a wonderful achievement. I'm Tom Boudreau, chair of the Conflict Analysis and Dispute Resolution Program, and we have a class of faculty and students, including Deborah Truitt, who helped write one of the papers on Moliere mediation, and Dan Hirko and Ashley Simpson, who wrote the paper on their work in ECI Correctionals Institute. So hello and bienvenidos todos mis amigos in Puerto Rico.
Oh, very good. All right, and so we have Lynn Malley also is coming in as an individual practitioner. Lynn, if you can hear, just say a quick introduction and we'll get rolling.
Brian, I don't think she heard you. If you can go ahead and repeat yourself.
Okay, thank you. Lynn, if you would just introduce yourself to everybody, and then we'll get rolling to our first question.
Hey, Brian, Lynn just put in headphones because she's having trouble hearing.
Okay.
I don't know if, Lynn, can you hear?
Okay, we'll work without Lynn for a while, and then we'll go, and then we'll bring Lynn in as we can, right? So our first question then, we thought we'd go by themes, and our first theme is what is the role of therapeutic jurisprudence? What role is that playing in the courts and in alternative dispute resolution venues? So we'd ask David Wexler to speak to that because he's written extensively, of course, is the father of therapeutic jurisprudence. And Dave, we'd ask you to chat a little bit about therapeutic jurisprudence and the therapeutic jurisprudence movement. Thank you.
Well, okay, thank you. One of the things I was talking to my students about right before we came online with you is that unlike some of these other approaches, they're all quite similar, and therapeutic jurisprudence, or TJ, certainly shares with many of these, but many of the other vectors that we're going to be talking about today are really adjuncts to the law or alternatives to the law, whereas therapeutic jurisprudence really deals with the legal system itself. And it looks at the law in practice, how it actually operates, and it looks at the law as a combination of different legal rules like statutes and regulations, legal procedures like trials and hearings, and the roles of legal actors like the behavior of judges, of lawyers, and of others acting in the legal system. And it really seeks to try, it recognizes that whether we know it or not, or like it or not, the law, as I've just described it, has therapeutic and anti-therapeutic effects by people, for people who are within or affected by the legal system. TJ tries to tease out these effects and to see if we can make the law more therapeutic, less anti-therapeutic, within the bounds of due process and other values that the law and we hold dear. So it's really a focus on the legal system. I would suggest that there are two main resources for anyone interested in following this. One is a new Facebook page, which is facebook.com/therapeutic jurisprudence. So I hope by the end of this conference you'll all have joined it. It's a very, very good, up-to-date page with constant documents that are uploaded of interest. The other one, with a very big bibliography, is www.therapeuticjurisprudence.org. So those are the main resources. Now you have a discussion question here about what role is therapeutic jurisprudence playing in the courts and alternative justice processes. Well, in the courts, it's really starting to play quite a role, especially so in so-called problem-solving courts like drug treatment courts, mental health courts, domestic violence courts. But beyond that, there's a real effort now being made to take therapeutic jurisprudence principles and to have them apply within regular court settings, especially within the criminal and family and juvenile area, but broader than that as well. So really, TJ isn't so much an alternative justice process as a process for bringing therapeutic and psychological insights into the legal process itself. Maybe they didn't hear anything.
Very good. We heard that. It's very good.
I knew you heard it. I knew you heard it. Just trying to lighten this up a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, just wanted to say, Dave, Mike Deku would maybe just say a word or two about some therapeutic drug courts in Fairbanks. And I don't know, Mike, if you just want to say a word or two about that. In fact, an application of this, the very ideas you're talking about.
Okay, sure. What we're finding right now in terms of the therapeutic courts in Fairbanks is a more recent phenomena. Approximately 2 years ago, the what they're calling right now the alcohol court started here, and two fairly entrepreneurial judges decided to step up to the plate, and with the blessing of the district attorney here, decided to really tackle the problem of DUI, driving under the influence drivers, firsthand. Because as you can imagine, and this is, I think holds true probably throughout the circumpolar areas of the world, we we have an enormous alcohol problem here in Alaska, which is really punctuated by a lot of DUIs. And classically, those DUIs have been treated within the court system. These two judges saw the fact that they were essentially, the courts were creating their own business because of the fact that we had a situation where there were many, many repeat offenders. They were giving them the same typical sentences. Really nothing changed. So what they chose to do is develop a process that is aimed at repeat offenders and aimed specifically at people who are looking at felony DUI convictions. And it may be different in different states and different areas. But here in Alaska, a person is looking at a felony DUI conviction if they have 3 offenses within a 10-year time frame. And so what the program basically instituted is a minimum 18-month program that's separated into 3 6-month segments. And that involves, at least initially, weekly visits to the court, at least during the first 6 months, and plus following through with a pretty rigorous regimen of counseling on an outpatient basis. As of right now, for the folks who had graduated the program, and this is kind of scary when they talk about it, they say that they've had only 1 individual who has actually reoffended during the period. And again, that's not saying that somebody hasn't gone out and drank, but they've had only 1 person who actually has gotten in a vehicle again and has been caught driving. So the bottom line is, from the judge's perspective, is, you know, they can't guarantee that somebody's not going to go ahead and drink again, but at the same time, what they're saying is that at least they're not getting on the road and threatening the population in the Fairbanks area. So that's something that is, for them, is a real success story. And again, it's a real interesting blend of the judge wearing multiple hats, being again still the so-called disciplinarian in the court, but also being the cheerleader, literally at times, and really trying to develop that sense in the client, in this case, that they can change their behavior for the better. At the same time, they can be a constructive part of the community. So up to this point, the results have been very positive.
Thanks, Mike. Dave, I was going to say to you, you've talked a little bit about the the therapeutic idea of therapeutic jurisprudence and the anti-therapeutic aspect. And maybe just to say some words also about the anti-therapeutic potential of law that we maybe ignore sometimes, and to dig into that a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think the basic insight of therapeutic jurisprudence is the law, as I described it or defined it before, meaning statutes and procedures and the role of judges, has a therapeutic or an anti-therapeutic effect in our current system, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. So one of the big objectives of TJ is to try and focus attention on that, tease it out, be aware of what's going on, either therapeutically or anti-therapeutically, and then try and marshal the therapeutic and minimize the anti-therapeutic. So if one thinks of a common situation like a litigated divorce case, your procedure, the legal procedure itself of adjudicating the best interest of a child, say in a divorce case, is something that contributes further to the trauma and to the disruption of the relationship between the parties or the parents. I mean, we all know that divorce is stressful, that custody is a difficult issue, but when we talk about what's the best interest of the child, we have to realize that whatever we mean by that litigating this in an adversary context is going to be in the worst interest of everyone. Because what the adversary system does, what that procedure does there, is really motivate the parties to look for and bring out the very worst in the other party. That's their whole strategy. And then at the end of the day, the judge decides, okay, you're divorced, one of you gets custody, the other gets visitation, now you folks work it out. But the TJ point is that as stressful as all of this is, the law itself actually contributed to the distress, to the anxiety, and to the disruption of this relationship. And these people are going to have to work with each other because of the kids, if nothing more, after the divorce is over. So that's just a simple example of how a legal procedure would operate in an anti-therapeutic way. And then all of you folks and what you're doing are looking for alternative procedures for handling those kinds of disputes and for minimizing this trauma.
And what I'd like to do is open the floor up to the other universities and to anybody here to ask a question or to make a comment about the things we're talking about. We'd like it to be a town hall discussion, proceeding, so that you're free to speak. We want people to be able to speak and ask questions of David, for example, here, or to raise a particular issue that's related. And so just open the floor there to anybody who'd like to speak at this point, and ask you to step up.
Brian, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff. I'm with the university here in Fairbanks. A question that I would pose, or I guess I'd direct this to you, Dave, or anyone else who could speak to this, but who do you find coming forth with the most interest in therapeutic jurisprudence? Do you find it coming from attorneys? Do you find it coming from the general public? Or do you find it coming from the judges, the judiciary themselves?
I think this is changing right now, but I think the most important, of course, the most important thing ultimately will be if the public is really sold on it. But the way in which, at least in the U.S., and I think I'd say internationally, this has worked, has been largely through the judges first. And then the judges who get interested in this really can set the legal culture in their courtroom and in their jurisdiction. And if a judge wants something done a certain way, it's amazing how quickly the attorneys are going to start coming up to the plate, prepared and doing it that way. So over the course of many years, when I've been doing this, I've lectured to lots of different groups. Lots of different judges groups, and at the beginning there were always some who were interested. Okay, they were far fewer then than they are now. I think things are changing. I think things in law schools are changing. Law schools are more receptive to interdisciplinary work and contribution. So I think that's helping. When these people graduate and become judges, they're more receptive. So. Initially, there were always some who were interested. There were always some who were not interested. And the interesting thing, however, is the ones who were not interested were not